Hi everyone, I'm Mandy. Welcome to Souped Up Recipes. Today we're making yipping ramen, translated as flaming noodles or burning noodles. Sounds really spicy, but that is not how it got the name. These noodles are very special. In the old days, people would light it up as a wick for kerosene lamps. That's the name origin. I think this is the most delicious noodle dish, so it's worth giving it a try, but it consists of many different components, which is a little bit complicated. Don't worry, I will break it down and go through it one by one as detailed as possible, so you can enjoy this authentic Chinese noodle dish in your house. Let's start with the noodles, because 燃面 uses 碱水面, which is a type of noodles that contains soda ash. Just to be clear, you don't need to make your own noodles because you can just use egg noodles or pasta as a replacement, but it is always nice to know the process. Soda ash is also known as washing soda or sodium carbonate. I'll link this in the description. You can check it out if you want to buy it. We just need a third teaspoon of it. Add it to the water along with half teaspoon of salt. Stir well. Then pour it into 300 grams of bread flour, little by little, and mix at the same time. If you don't have bread flour, you can also use all-purpose flour. The soda ash raises the pH level of the dough, which changes the texture. Basically, it makes the noodles chewier. Keep mixing until the water is well distributed. Due to my arthritis, I have to use a KitchenAid to do the kneading. You can knead it by hand if you have the energy. Use the hook attachment and let it run on low speed for 10 minutes. This is a low water ratio dough, so the flour won't join together into a big piece. It will be many little pieces like this. You just combine them together. Divide it into 3 even pieces, because the amount that I gave is enough to make 3 portions of noodles. Flatten each dough a little bit so they can go through the machine easier. Put on the pasta roller attachment. Start with the thickest setting. Let the dough go through the machine. It will come out rough and the edge is jagged. That's fine. Just fold the sheet in half and feed it through the machine a few more times until the surface is smooth. Do the same thing to all 3 pieces of dough. Then you can gradually lower the thickness and continue to feed the sheet through the machine until they reached your desired thickness. For 碱水面, I normally use the level 4 as the final setting. Apply a generous amount of cornstarch on the surface to prevent sticking. Wheat flour does prevent the sticking as well, but only for a short time because the gluten tend to connect to each other, which makes the noodles stick together. Cornstarch doesn't contain any gluten, so it will separate the noodles for a long time. Switch the attachment to the noodle cutter and feed the sheet through. Look at these perfect noodles. Add more cornstarch into the mixing bowl and toss the noodles to coat nicely. Shake off the excess. Cover the noodles and set them aside. We'll go to the second component, seasoned sweet soy sauce, or what we call 复制酱油. It is the main flavor for flaming noodles, and it is also used in many Sichuan dishes, such as zhong dumpling, mouth-watering chicken, and garlic pork slices. Unfortunately, you cannot buy 复制酱油 outside of China, so we have to make it ourselves. You will need 1 cup of regular light soy sauce, 1 cup of water, a third cup of brown sugar, 1 dried shiitake mushroom. You don't need to pre-soak it. Just roughly cut it into pieces by using a pair of kitchen scissors. Continue by adding 3 slices of ginger, a shallot, which I have thinly sliced, 1 scallion, tied it into a knot, 4 to 5 cilantro leaves, tie them together as well. Besides that, you will also need some spices. 1 small stick of cinnamon, 1 star anise, 1 piece of bay leaf, half teaspoon of fennel seed, half teaspoon of white pepper, and half tablespoon of Sichuan peppercorns. Turn on the heat and bring this to a boil. Then turn the heat to low. Let it simmer without the lid until more than half of the liquid is evaporated. This will take 20 to 30 minutes. Looking at such a big list of ingredients, some of you may want to ask, is there any replacement? The closest thing that I can think of is a mixture of soy sauce, brown sugar, and 5-spice powder. But still, the flavor is different. This is why it's so hard to find this dish outside of China. A lot of people just don't want to trade the effort for authentic Chinese food. 30 minutes later, more than half of the liquid is gone. The texture is slightly thick. That is good. Let it go through a sieve. We made more than what we need for today's recipe. You can store it in a sealed container. It will last half of a year in the fridge. I will link other Sichuan recipes in the description that use this seasoned sweet soy sauce. You can check them out later. Set the sweet soy sauce aside. Let's talk about the Sichuan red chili oil. We call it 油泼辣子. It is one of the basic must-have ingredients. I have used it in many of my recipes. Since I already made a separate demo video, I'm just going to quickly go through it today. 1 cup plus 1/4 cup of vegetable oil. Season it with lots of aromatics and spices. Heat it over medium heat until they are nicely charred. In a big heat-proof bowl, add Sichuan peppercorn powder, mild chili powder, spicy chili powder. I like to use different kinds of chili powder to balance the flavor. Sesame seeds, salt, and some Chinese black vinegar. Mix well. All the aromatics are golden now. Take them out. I recently discovered a new ingredient, 紫草. I think the English name is called lithospermum root. It has no flavor, so it is optional, but it will dye the oil into a beautiful purple-red color. Put it in a sieve, then into the oil for just 20 to 30 seconds. I love that color. Again, this is optional, but I will link it in the description. You can check it out if you want to buy it. Pour the hot oil into the chili flakes in batches and stir well. Although chili powder does give the oil a red color, but with the lithospermum root, the color is more vivid. We made more than what we need, so you can store the chili oil in a sealed container. It will last 4 months at room temperature or a year in the fridge. Let's talk about the fourth component, roasted nut powder, which is my favorite because it really elevates the noodles to another level. You will need some peanut, walnut, and some sesame seeds. If yours are roasted already, you can just blend them directly into a powder, but mine are raw, so I have to do an extra step. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. The walnut and the peanut are bigger. Bake them for 14 minutes. The sesame seeds are small. You only need to bake for 12 minutes. Once done, take everything out of the oven and let them cool. Put the nuts into a blender and blend into a rough powder. This smells rich and nutty. So good. Set it aside. Another important topping for flaming noodles is Sui Mi Ya Cai. It is preserved and minced mustard green. It has a nice fermented flavor and a umami taste. It also got a crunchy texture. This is how the package looks. I'll put the link in the description. The packaged Yacai is a bit too wet, so I like to add it into a wok without anything. Stir over medium heat until some of the moisture is evaporated. This step is optional, but it does make the Yacai extra crunchy. By the way, If you don't have access to buy yacai, you can use some diced kimchi or other types of pickles. Alright, set the yacai into a bowl and let's go through the rest of the ingredient. This is garlic water. Really easy to make. Just press 4 cloves of garlic through a garlic presser, then add 1/3 cups of water and mix well. Besides that, you will need a couple of scallions and a little bit of cilantro. You have to dice them as fine as possible so they can cling onto the noodle strength when you mix everything. This chef's knife that I'm using is another beautiful collection in my product line. I just launched it not so long ago. I love the aesthetic and the quality. If you want to buy it, the link is in the description. Go check it out. Alright, we have all the ingredients ready on the table. Let me show you how to assemble the flaming noodles. Bring a big pot of water to a boil. Fresh noodles cook really fast. It just needs a couple of minutes. If you are not sure, you can take a bite. We want the noodles to be al dente, which means the center is still firm and chewy. Take the noodles out and shake really well. This is important because the noodles will reabsorb the moisture and become less chewy. Put the noodles into a serving bowl. Add a generous amount of red chili oil, however many tablespoons, up to your taste. 1.5 tablespoons of seasoned sweet soy sauce. Look at that, it becomes even thicker and glossier after cooled. 2 teaspoons of garlic water. 1.5 tablespoons of roasted nut powder. Some diced cilantro and scallions. A couple of tablespoons of yacai. Be careful, yacai is very salty. Don't put too much, otherwise it will overpower the dish. That's it. You have made a bowl of flaming noodles. Let's give it a nice mix. I've seen some restaurants will add some minced pork for more flavors. I didn't because this dish is too complicated and it is flavorful and delicious without the pork anyway. Smells so good. I can't wait to eat it. The texture of the noodles is the best. It's very nice and chewy. This dish is very flavorful, spicy and salty. I love the yacai and the toasted nuts. They add so much taste and texture. So good. I can't stop eating it. We did spend a lot of time making it, but as soon as you take a bite, all the effort is paid off. By the way, flaming noodles are pretty oily and spicy, so traditionally we will serve it with some seaweed soup, which is very easy to make. Bring a few cups of chicken stock to a boil. I'm using the store-bought stock because I don't want to make this dish even more difficult. Toss in some bean sprout and seaweed. Season it with some salt and black pepper to taste. This soup really refreshes your mouth and makes the noodles even more enjoyable. However, you can serve the noodles with a different soup if you want. At the end, I want to test to see if we can light up the noodles. I know some of you are wondering, what is the purpose of that? Well, you don't have to light it up. It's just a sign that tells you the noodles are perfectly chewy and seasoned with tons of chili oil. Ancient Chinese people may use it as a wick, but I'm just doing it to prove the theme of the name. I hope you give this a try soon. As always, the printable recipe is in the description. Go check it out. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel for more delicious Chinese food. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!